The bones be shambling our ways, boys. Let's go smashing some skulls.
Rise, my creations, rise. We've much work to do, and these Aurochs must not stand in our way. Age of Sigmar Warcry, Ironjawz versus Legions of Nagash. Welcome folks to Dice Chatter's first Warcry battle report. Today we run a battle with the hard-hitting Ironjawz fighting against the everlasting hordes of Nagash's forces. Let's show you the models we will be using this battle and then flip some cards to see what is in store for this combat. For the Hammer Squad, Nagash has 3 skeleton warriors with ancient spears and a skeleton champion. The Ironjawz have a brute with gore choppa and a single Ardboy with a big choppa. For the shield, Nagash has the necromancer leader backed up by 6 skeleton warriors with blades. And the Ironjawz shield contains the brute boss leader with the boss claw and brute smasher side by side with a couple Ardboys with choppas and smashes. The dagger for Nagash contains 3 skeleton warriors with ancient spears, and the Ironjawz fill out with a couple more Ardboys with big choppas. This rounds out to 990 points for Legions of Nagash and 1000 points for the Ironjawz. Now we roll for priority. Legions of Nagash will be the white dice for the duration of this battle, and the Ironjawz will be yellow. A 4 beats a 3, so the Legions of Nagash get to start flipping some cards. First we flip the terrain card and get to set up the terrain according to the image on the card. Looks like we will be fighting on a more open battleground. Should be interesting. Here it is all set up nice and pretty on the table. Or chaotically, I guess? Then we see how we set up the hammer, shield, and dagger for our 2 forces. The card chosen has been Blood Rush. Since Nagash's forces won the priority roll, they get to choose what color they will be and have decided on the red locations. Next is the victory card, and today the forces will be attempting to steal the prize. Treasure will be held by a single fighter. If that fighter can hold that treasure until the end of the 3rd battle round, victory goes to that player. If the treasure falls to the battlefield or is taken by the attacker, they win instead. We roll off to see who gets to be the attacker or defender. Nagash's forces win the roll-off and have decided to be the defender. And finally we flip M. Night Shyamalan's favorite card, the Twist. And it seems the battle will be taking place in the murky swampland. Any models that begin a move action on the battlefield floor reduces their movement by 1. This may be troublesome for the attacker's force. They have to move quick to retrieve that treasure. All of the cards have been flipped and each player will set up their models. Nagash's forces will hold up hiding behind barricades and the statue head of Sigmar himself. All the while, the Ironjawz will be charging in head-on to take down their skeletal foes. So without further ado, we begin Battle Round 1. Each player rolls 6 dice and divides out their singles, doubles, triples, and quads. Nagash and his friends manage to roll a triple, double, and has 1 single. The Ironjawz roll out a double and 4 singles to start the round. Nagash and his forces decide to bank their wild die this turn, while the Ironjawz decide to ramp up their double to a triple. To start things off, the Ironjawz will immediately use their triple to use the Wog ability. It allows them to move farther in this swampy battleground. And assuming at the beginning of combat round 2 the treasure will be held by the necromancer, they have to hightail it to the other side of the battlefield. Next, a Skelly Boy makes a double move down the stairs to play in a swamp puddle and hopes to block off some Aurochs coming towards the necromancer. The Wog ability that was used in the last Ironjawz activation also affects the 2 Ardboys nearby, so both of these fighters will get a bonus to their movement. Once again, another skeleton makes his way down the stairs hoping to create a bone blockade. There flashes by another Ardboy. Oh, he almost missed the top step. That would have been embarrassing. Anyways, more of the Ardboys move forward towards the necromancer, assuming he will be the treasure keeper. The swamp is really hindering their progress. And with more of these skeletons making a bone shield in front of the necromancer, this may just be the case. These Ironjawz are going to have to cleave through a number of skeletons to get to the gold. In this activation, the skeleton will use Rush to get a little farther from the necromancer to create a better blocking shield. The brute with the gore choppa is next, and he is ready to carve out a destructive path. But with the double move, he moves a whopping 4 inches in this slushy swamp. And once again, another skeleton near the Necromancer will use Rush and charge forward, hoping to keep him safe. Next, this Ardboy will have some fun and move through the door in this wall. Yes, this is in the rules, look it up. As he steps through, he closes it behind him, channeling his inner Leanne Womack and sings, "I hope you dance." And as this door closes, another one opens. Anyways, with all of the Ironjawz fighters finished with their activations, we will complete the rest of the Legion of Nagash double moves as they push forward to meet these Aurochs in battle. At the end of Battle Round 1, there was no combat, mainly due to the fact that the swamp slowed just about everyone down. The Ironjawz are on the attack, awaiting to see what Nagash fighter is carrying the treasure they want so bad. On to Battle Round 2. To start, Nagash will roll 66, getting 2 doubles and 2 singles. The Ironjawz end up rolling a triple, a double, and a single. For wild dice distribution, Nagash will make both of his doubles into triples since he banked a wild die last turn, and the Ironjawz will ramp up to 2 triples. Initiative starts with Nagash's forces, and the treasure that was set to be given out at the beginning of the combat phase of the second round is going to be held by the Necromancer. No big surprise there. Right away, a skeleton will use a triple to activate the double ability, Shambling Horde, giving the skeleton a bonus move. He will shamble up between the Ardboy and Brute Boss and make 2 attacks. These attacks will go into the Brute Boss, hitting on 5s, and the boss ends up taking a total of 4 damage. The Brute Boss will immediately activate next and use the Wog ability, granting more movement to a number of Aurochs nearby. And then, of course, he will attempt to smash the skeleton nearby. The skeleton gets crushed, but managed to take up both the Brute's actions. Then another skeleton warrior will activate. It will move, and then attack into the nearby Ardboy. The Ironjawz armor is tough and they need 5s to hit, and manages to squeak some damage through. The Ardboy that was just attacked will attempt to destroy this annoying skeleton. Sadly, the Auroch does not do enough damage to the Bony Boy to finish him off. The next skeleton spearman will move in even though he could have hit the Brute Boss at range. But he did want to get in close, so the boss on a future turn would have to waste some action time dealing with this skeleton. The skeleton attacks in and manages to get some damage through as well. With the Ironjawz third activation, another Ardboy charges forward from the Wog in an earlier turn to fight off another skeleton blocking their way to the Necromancer. And good thing he could make it there, because that big 2-handed mace of his just smashed those bones to dust. And of course, another from the Endless Horde blocks the path to the treasure. The skeleton will then attack into the Ardboy, sending some damage that way as well. The next Ardboy will attempt to move forward and clear the bag of bones sitting in front of the Brute Boss. He swings his 2 axes really hard, but only manages a few damage. Not enough to take him down. Oh yeah, then more fodder goes out to stop the Ironjawz advance. It may be an annoying strategy, but it is a good one. Next, another Ardboy that was impacted by the Wog will charge forward to the blockade. He even has enough left in his tank this round to get an attack through, but it looks like there was barely anything left in his tank, only sending in 1 point of damage. Then some deja vu occurs. Yep, that's about it. Next, the Brute with the Gore Choppa will use the Rush ability, and he feels he needs to be the one who is going to take down the Necromancer. But this Necromancer is now in range to cast a spell on the Brute. For both of his actions, he will attack the Brute, delivering only 3 points of damage. And at the end of the Necromancer's activation, he will use the triple ability, Summon Undead. The skeleton that was taken out this turn is now going to appear once again on the battlefield within 3 inches of the Necromancer. On to the final activation for the Ironjawz. The Ardboy far away from the combat will slop his way forward. The The swamp is really putting a hindrance on movement this battle. With the final activation done for the Ironjawz, Nagash and his forces will finish out the rest of the round. A skeleton will move up and then attack into the brute with the Gore Choppa. He crits and sends 3 damage into the brute. And the same goes for the skeleton with a spear, but unlike his bone pal, his 2 little spear attacks don't pass through that thick Auric armor. And to finish off the battle round, a skeleton moves back to defend the Necromancer, and the set of 4 skeletons that we all forgot about this battle shamble forward, hoping to at least do something next battle round. So this concludes battle round 2. The hordes of skeletons are ever present. With the amount of fighters they have and the speed reduction granted by the twist card, it may be tough for the Ironjawz to reach the treasure on the Necromancer leader. On to battle round 3. Again, each player rolls 66. Legions of Nagash get a triple and 3 singles. The Ironjawz roll and they end up getting a double and 4 singles. Nagash will boost one of his singles into a double, and the Aurochs will take their lonely double and make it into a triple. Ironjawz have the initiative, and the brute boss, per usual, begins the wog once again, as a last-ditch effort to get his forces in to fight the Necromancer. The Auroch will then smash into the skeleton, turning it into dust, and then move forward towards the group of 4 skeletons we have forgotten about, to block them from slowing the advance down. The Necromancer then sends out 2 ranged spells towards the brute with the Gore Choppa, and oh man does he land a lot of damage with a total of 12. That really stings. And to make matters worse for the Ironjawz, the Necromancer will once again spawn in another skeleton that was taken down, creating the Bone Shield. Next, an Ardboy will move up and attempt to clear a path to the Necromancer for the brute nearby, but this Ardboy is not strong enough to kill this agile skeleton. Then the Horde fights back, and they are trying to eliminate the brute with the Gore Choppa, but with their damage output it may take a while. Next is another Ardboy hoping to carve a path through some skeletons. Hitting on 4s and getting 2 criticals is plenty enough to kill 1 skeleton. With his second attack, it seems he expended all of his energy on the first hit, only dealing a couple damage. Next, a Skelly Boy moves forward to close out the advance and makes an attack into an Ardboy. 3 dice are rolled and all of them are under a 5, so no damage is dealt. The brute with the Gore Choppa is next, and he isn't a happy Auroch. With no more abilities left for the Ironjawz, the only plan of action for this Auroch is to just attack. And he attacked quite well, killing a skeleton and heavily damaging another. The skeleton that was damaged is going next and will use the ability Onslaught to add 1 to attacks. With a number of hits going through and even getting a critical, it is enough to take out the brute. There are only a few more activations left for the Ironjawz, and they are not even close to taking down the Necromancer. We continue over to an Ardboy who takes a couple swings into a skeleton. In the end, he deals out some damage, but not enough to destroy the fighter. More skeleton attacks come next, and this one rolls very well, landing 2 crits for his 2 attacks, sending out 7 damage. Seeing his Auric pal take some heavy damage, this next Ardboy is going to lash out a couple crits into the skeleton in front of him and take him out. He will then move closer to the Necromancer. If only the Ironjawz had another turn. This skeleton armed with a sword will make his 2 attacks. Only a single damage manages to trickle through. And for the final activation for the Ironjawz, this Ardboy will just pass his turn. He has no chance to reach the Necromancer and take his treasure this turn. The Ironjawz needed to steal the treasure by the end of battle round 3, giving victory to the Legions of Nagash. For some final thoughts, I believe this battle was extremely difficult for the Ironjawz to get close to the Necromancer. They were able to get the Wog ability off a few times, but the penalty to movement due to the twist card was too much for them. But give credit to the Legions of Nagash. They protected that Necromancer with their lives, and they lost many, and kept creeping a few skeletons back into the fray when they could. Overall, it was a fun battle, and a little one-sided though. Maybe next time the Ironjawz will get revenge, or Nagash and his forces will continue to overwhelm the Aurochs. I want to thank you all for watching, and of course, happy gaming.